When the human mind realizes its remaining time is strictly limited, it sometimes enters a state of absolute, piercing focus, known as terminal lucidity. The ambient noise of ambition and ego fades out. The mind stops entirely. What remains is a singular drive to understand what matters. Facing a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, Lev Goukassian chose to work. He spent his final months drafting a technical, sovereign-grade governance specification, an ethical infrastructure designed for autonomous machines. While most people look backward at the end of life, Lev focused on the future. He identified a systemic vulnerability in the digital architecture of modern finance, one that could trigger catastrophic failures before a human could even react. When time becomes a finite resource, personal ambition evaporates. It is replaced by the responsibility to leave behind a method for making wiser decisions. This infrastructure is already running our world. Algorithmic trading, AI models, and global financial networks move at a scale and speed that bypasses human oversight. These systems are built on binary logic. They are mathematically forced to choose between 1 or 0, a mandatory yes or no that leaves no room for doubt or ambiguity. We have already seen the consequences. During the 2010 flash crash, algorithmic systems were forced to make binary decisions under conditions of extreme uncertainty. Without a way to pause, they executed trades in a blind panic, erasing $1 trillion in minutes. Regulatory bodies can only investigate after the damage is done. They attempt to reconstruct intent from fragmented logs after the crash has ended. Lev argued that this lack of a pause state creates an epistemic crisis. To him, the danger is an automated system that cannot account for what it doesn't know before it acts on the world. A highly complex machine built without the physical ability to hesitate will inevitably mistake machine speed for truth. Lev worked as a relentless architect, treating his final months as a race to complete these governance theories. He used large AI models as collaborative partners, treating them as sounding boards to stress test his technical specifications. He aggressively challenged the superficial default answers these models generated, forcing the machines to deconstruct concepts back to fundamental first principles. He was utilizing the processing power of the very technology he sought to govern in order to forge its future constraints. He proved that ethical frameworks are not produced by passive observation. They emerge from the governed, adversarial tension between human intent and machine logic. This terminal clarity produced a mandate known as the Goukassian Vow. Pause when truth is uncertain. Refuse when harm is clear. Proceed where truth is. Lev translated this vow into an engineering framework called ternary logic. It replaces binary logic with a triadic system. This substrate introduces hesitation directly into the circuitry. In this architecture, doubt is a physical property of the hardware itself. The epistemic hold shown here is an unskippable electrical reality. If the data is uncertain, the circuit physically cannot advance. This is reinforced by a non-negotiable law: no log, no action. Every decision must be cryptographically recorded in a decision log before the gateway to execution can unlock. Ternary logic transforms accountability from an optional software preference into a physical prerequisite for execution. Consider the scale of autonomous systems 50 years from now. Current systems rely on compliance by trust, the hope that institutions follow software rules. Lev's framework enables compliance by architecture, where an action is physically blocked by the hardware until truth is verified. This highlights the failure of ghost governance. A reporting lane that takes 300 milliseconds cannot oversee an inference lane moving at 2 milliseconds. Overseeing high-speed automation with slow, post-hoc reporting is structurally impossible. This creates the burden of knowing. Because Lev has shown that hesitation can be mathematically engineered, we can no longer treat reckless automation as an unavoidable accident. Once the mechanism for safety exists, continuing to deploy systems without it becomes a deliberate choice. Lev focused his remaining time on successfully transferring responsibility to the future. By releasing his work under an open-source license, he surrendered ownership of the architecture, inviting the next generation to iterate upon it. The true measure of his legacy is not a monument, but the ethical infrastructure he left behind for others to use. The power to change the future was never hidden in these pages. It has always belonged to those willing to act.